Hello there, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me again. I hope you're well. Those of you that saw my little post on the community tab will know that it's been a bit of a difficult time recently. Family stuff. Don't worry, Lucy's fine. It's nothing to do with her. She's great. But yeah, it's taken a lot of my time and it's been quite hard and challenging. And so what I've decided to do is to just take a day for myself. It's a beautiful day today and I've got what everybody needs when they're feeling a little bit low, which is some candy. This is street candy film, which I've never used before. So I'm going to stick that in my old Canon EOS and I'm going to spend the day going around taking pictures of things that hopefully will make me feel happy. And at the end of the day, I will go to the studio, develop it myself, and I will scan it, and it will have been a day for me, a day to recharge, and it will hopefully be good for my mental health, and hopefully it will be interesting for you to watch as well, and maybe give you some tips for when you're feeling a bit down, how you could cheer yourselves up. I'm going to go off to the bus station. I'm going to get myself a day ticket so I have the freedom of the buses and I can travel all the way through this wonderful day. So into Stockport interchange, £5 day ticket. I think I'll just get the first bus. And so I will end up wherever I end up. It's bound to be something to photograph. So the first bus turned out to be a 383 to Romiley and Marple, which is always a good destination. So I head out there first and hope that this weather is still nice when I get there. So I decided to use the bus journey not just to look at the beautiful view but also to load up the street candy into the EOS 620, which is quite tricky to do single-handed when you're filming yourself with an iPhone in a moving vehicle, but I managed to do it. I noticed when I did that there's no DX code on the street candy film, so the Canon 620 defaulted to its base ISO of 80, which isn't radically different from 100, but I'm glad I didn't put it in one of my other cameras where I wouldn't have been able to change the ISO. On this one you can go in and manually change it in the settings, so I set that to 100 and was ready to go. So just got off the bus. This is first stop. This is a Romiley and I haven't had breakfast yet, so I need a sausage roll. I've taken one photograph so far of the church down in Stockport, which I took from the top deck of the bus. It might be nice, I don't know. Don't know what this film's going to do because it's a weird black and white one I've never used before. Yeah, the film, when developed, did seem to have a really nice grain to it. It seemed to resolve all the detail really well. There are a few spots on this, but they are actually from the bus window because I shot this from the top deck of the bus. It's looking down on Compstle, which is a nice village just on the edge of the Beat District. I thought I might stop there, but actually decided I would head into somewhere a bit more well inhabited because I needed to get something to eat, and I didn't really want to spend the whole day out on the hills on my own. I wanted to be around people if possible. I'm enjoying things so far. Look at this gorgeous sunshine. I need breakfast, right. I thought there'd be a Greggs in Romiley, but I couldn't spot one. I did find an interesting photo to take in Romiley though, and that was this clothes rail outside a charity shop, I think it was. And if you look at the hangers, it looks like it's just clothes for young people and adults. But actually, if you look a little closer, you'll see it's actually for dogs and cats. Those are canine harnesses and little collars with bells. So yeah, bit interesting, bit quirky. Maybe not the most interesting composition, but something that makes you think. And moving along the road, it looks like part of the railway bridge had come down. They put some cones around it. So I tried to get a picture with some people passing, and there's a nice shadow as well. The landscape orientation, there just seemed to be a bit too much space in it. I'm not that happy using a 50mm lens. I prefer something around an 80 for this kind of photography. So actually I cropped into a portrait orientation, and I think that works a lot better. In a funny way, it reminds me of the cover of Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, but nobody's on fire, fortunately. I carried on my journey looking for the elusive sausage roll, but I was distracted by a little passageway that I decided to see where it went. You guys know I love a good canal, so here in Romiley you can drop down onto the canal, and I thought I'd just have a little wander down, see if there are any boats. If not, doesn't matter, I'll just head back to the road. It's just a nice thing about taking a day and not really knowing what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to take it as it comes. I have got a feeling I'm just going to have no good photos, but it doesn't really matter. The thing I love about taking photographs is as you're looking for things, your attention is just taken away from all your troubles and your worries. I think that's really good for you. You don't want to disconnect from it for too long and not process stuff, but sometimes you just got to enjoy the outside world without thinking about it too much. And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop talking and start enjoying again. And that's exactly what I did. And I did spot a single boat, which wasn't particularly photogenic. And I don't like to take photographs into boats because they are people's homes. But this little detail by the side where you can see the rubber tyre that stops it bashing up against the towpath, and a little bucket with clean water written on it, which is interesting, next to the canal, which is full of perhaps less clean water. I also got a picture of the crocuses that were out. They look beautiful in colour, but in black and white, it's a bit of a wasted frame, really. So appropriately enough for my film, I'm outside the candy cabin, but I didn't get this from there. I got this from here, a really nice warm sausage roll. I'm hoping it's going to be tasty because it's nice to know that you can get something independent and good at £1.20. Let's have a little taste. No, good seasoning. It's a fair size. That's going to keep me going. Litter in the bin, as it should be, and off we go. But not too far, as I spotted this old newsagent's, which had a lovely old Cadbury sign. And to the right of it, what looks like it was a soft toy maker's. I took a portrait orientation picture, but really this crop actually gives a much better impression of the textures, and I think it would work even better in colour, really, because the purples of the Cadbury sign and the green and red of the rust was really nice and is obviously lost in a black and white shot. Now, I can't remember if I mentioned the project Shadows of Nature that I've been working on, and it is pictures of the shadows of natural objects, usually trees, against man-made ones, and it wouldn't really work, I don't think, in the summer. There's just something good about that skeletal structure, so I'm going to try and take a picture of that now. Yeah, I like this. It's not actually a shadow, I have to say. It's a silhouette, and so it doesn't really fit the brief, but I like the picture, and I think it does work. It looks like a shadow. Yeah, interesting, but not one for that project, as it turns out. And just as I'd taken that picture, the bus back to Stockport appeared on the horizon, and I dashed to get on it and head off on the short journey back to the town centre. Thank you. So I've actually made it back to Stockport. I think I might just take a picture of this building, which I've taken many times before, but it looks like it's finally going to come down. Yeah, somebody's removed one of the parts of the hoarding so that you could actually get into the building itself, but I'm certainly not going to do that. Unfortunately, you don't really get much of an impression from this picture of the decay and the structure of the inside of the building. It's quite interesting. You can see where the floors collapsed, and there was actually, I think, a sink or a toilet or something in there before, which has maybe disappeared. But yeah, not a great picture, I'm afraid. Abandoned buildings aren't my forte, and certainly not in black and white. So I just had to stop and take a photo of this. I know it's a traffic sign, but it does seem to be very much a design for life as well, doesn't it, these days? Yeah, slow down, hold back, don't get too close. Yeah, that's probably good advice, isn't it? But sad that it is. Anyway, off we go.
This is the 192 service to Manchester.
So I've just got off the 192 in Levenshulme. I was planning to go all the way through to Manchester, but there's loads of roadworks, so the bus was crawling. One of the things I do like about days like this is just sitting on the bus and watching the world go by, thinking my own thoughts. But Levenshulme, there's often quite interesting things to photograph, so I thought might as well get off here. Maybe I'll find a bite to eat for lunch. Right, what is there? There were loads of places that I could have got a good lunch, but instead I got distracted, as I wanted to be, with photographs. Spotted this bit of street art, and I think that's the same guy who we chatted to during the Stockport paint jam. Because, yeah, wasn't he the one kindergarten level art, but he seems to do words. I tried to get a picture of it, but there weren't any people around to give it context, and I don't like taking pictures just of other people's work. There doesn't seem to be any point. Actually, though, I think I prefer this old ghost sign here. It's quite interesting by the hand car wash. Take that photo instead. And yeah, I think that makes a more interesting picture. Again, it would be nice to have had that figure in the background on the other curb, so he would have joined up those two segments of the picture. And it's interesting, it says Hind Car Wash. I don't think that's a misprint. I think it's there was a bigger sign and half of it's been removed. So it's not one of those things where people have made an amusing mistake in their wording. But it does add a certain quirkiness to the image. And I quite like the geometrics here as well. I had to mention geometrics, didn't I? I also got this picture as I was wandering down the street. Again, it's a bit of a cheap shot, really. The street's name, if you can see it, is Smart Street. And there's all these boards with graffiti on and litter just down by the curb. So isn't that an ironic juxtaposition? Or am I just being a little bit condescending? Probably that. Apologies to whoever lives there. I wasn't having a go at your street. And I just like this church. I'm always interested in churches, and this is a particularly interesting looking one on the busy A6. It works well with the tree echoing the tower on the left of the picture. And just after taking that picture, I spotted this young fellow and remembered my Cats of Bristol project. So I decided to take a picture of him as well. And it was nearly the last photograph that was ever taken of him, because he decided to leg it across a busy dual carriageway. That cat is living a charmed life. I would say dodged. The driver of the bus dodged him, and 2 other lanes of traffic. Today was a good day for that cat. So I'm walking through Longstack now, and the market's on, so that's always good for a picture or two. There were some really good pictures to be had in the market, but I just wasn't feeling brave enough to take them. I just got this one picture in the end of a guy walking towards the market, shot through a phone box. I thought it would be nice to do some subframing. At least I've recce'd the area and I know what there is to see. And it might be fun for another day when I'm feeling sociable, or when I've got Lucy with me to charm everybody. I jumped back on the bus and I really wanted to grab some spicy food in the city centre. So I'm in Manchester now, and it is time to get some lunch because I am starving. I think I'm going to see if Alphaisal is still doing human arms. This is a tragedy. It's to let. I've been going to this place for years. It used to be over there, and it was fantastic over there. Moved over here, and it looks like that's the end of it. Well, that's not a way to cheer myself up, finding that out. It seems like all the key cornerstones of my life to this date have all been knocked down. A lot of the places I used to work demolished. Yeah, it's kind of strange, feeling like the world of mine is just being. It's time to go somewhere else and start a new history, but things have to be finished before I can do that, and we will make the best of it. But that is don't know what to say really. That's kind of. That's not with 6 out. It's funny, isn't it? Other days I would just have thought, never mind. But it really did knock the wind out of me. I took this picture just as a memory of it. And I do have very happy memories of it. I've taken my dad there, I've taken my son there, and had some lovely, lovely meals and some nice times on my own, just taking a break from the city and enjoying a cheap, good meal. Right, let's get something to eat somewhere else. That's going to have to do. An egg mayo and a coffee wasn't really what I had planned. Alphaisal used to do the most amazing keema naan with chilies and ginger and lamb. It was just amazing. And this will have to do. And then I will try and cheer myself up in a different way by going to a camera shop and looking for some expired film. So here we are at the real camera. Let's see if they've got any interesting expired film for me. Or anything else. Well, nothing very exciting, but there was this roll which if I run out of my street candy will come in handy, just as a standard black and white. They've usually got some quite interesting expired film in there, but I think they're obviously running low, waiting for a new consignment to arrive. I'll pop in again soon. I fancy doing some street photography, but that Canon 620 is really not designed for it. It's so loud. It's not just the person being photographed that turns and looks at you, it's the whole street. But we'll see, we might get something before we head back to Stockport. Technology to tackle homelessness. Tap here, there's nothing there. It says something, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It says something about my mood as well. Feeling a bit jaded. It's interesting, isn't it? Just an irony. If you wanted to help, you couldn't. But I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to help, and that is something that we should all do when we can. So the answer to the making lots of noise problem is tending to take reflections in here, so you're not actually looking at what you take a picture of. So tried to get somebody in there. Don't know if it works, but you know, it's worth a go. Yeah, it probably doesn't. The figure's too small, but you can see what I was trying to do. I think the problem with making these videos sometimes is unless you go out and take pictures that you've taken before, so you know what you're going to get, the number of keepers you're going to get is going to be small. So you've either got to go and stunt things up and fake it, or just not show the video because there's nothing interesting to show. I want to show that, yeah, sometimes you don't get anything, or you might just get one shot. Quite often you will only get one shot. You're lucky if you get one good picture or one decent picture from a roll of film. This is the reality of candid film photography, and don't be depressed if you don't get good shots every time, or even most of the time. Just enjoy being out there, enjoy the hunt, enjoy the fresh air, enjoy getting away from the things that you need to get away from. That's the point of it. And if you come back with a pretty picture, then all the better. So this is an interesting corner because these little window segments divide people up. If you take the reflection of them crossing the road there, and you get segmented people, but they've got to be in exactly the right position, otherwise it kind of just looks a bit rubbish. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, I got one, but you can't really see unless you crop in what was actually there. It's a guy with a travel suitcase, and he is divided up in a weird way by the glass, which is obviously at slightly different angles. This one, I was trying to catch the couple in the pool of light there. Kind of worked, but not very interesting. And a bit of just ordinary street life. There was somebody being interviewed, and it's just a sort of straightforward, this is what happens, slightly unusual shot. Nothing to write home about, but I thought I'd grab it while I could. And this one, as I say, I don't have any axe to grind on political issues or anything like that, but I'm always interested in a juxtaposition. And this mother and child next to this poster, if you were going to try and make a political point, it would probably make it for you, but I am not trying to do that. I am just taking pictures with my camera. And again, this one is just me trying to get an interesting arrangement of figures and light. And I think it kind of works. There seems to be some sort of connection between it all, even though there actually isn't. But yeah, maybe that's just my imagination. And the last one, again, it's just a haha, isn't that a little bit amusing? It says no graffiti and there's graffiti over it. So yeah, very, very clever, Edward. Well done. Well, I've got 6 shots left, and I think I'm going to go and spend them in Stockport. Yeah, well, it's not doing it for me today. Let's have a little bus ride, chill out for a bit. It wasn't really possible to chill out. It was the hottest, sweatiest bus I've been on for a long time, and I was very glad to get off it as quickly as possible. So here we are back in Stockport, and I've got good use out of my day ticket. Just got 6 frames left to shoot, and then back to the studio. Let's get this processed before the sun goes down. So I took one picture of just the general street scene and then wandered into Mersey Square. So I must say I'm feeling pretty uninspired today, and I'm having to rely on the old ironies. So it says walking dance out and somebody on a crutch, which is just a cheap shot really. But I'm just trying to get through the day today, and yeah, it'll do for today. I took the shot a fraction of a second too soon, and it being filmed, didn't want to take a second. But actually, when I crop in on the image, I kind of like the collection of different angles, the way the crutch mimics the line of the stop sign and all the different shades in there. It kind of works in a way that I wasn't anticipating, and it's actually better than if I was just making a ha-ha, walking dance out, slightly mean-spirited comment. So yeah, I'm glad it worked out that way, and the figure remains anonymous, which is always important to me. So I wandered back towards the studio, and I got this picture, which again, it's not particularly interesting in itself, but I think it's an interesting point in history. I think it's a simple historical image that might appear on maybe somebody's local history video in 100 years' time. I also messed around trying to get a few reflections. This in the cracked actor with a dog walking past didn't really work. And this one, another place that had closed, not as big a deal to me as Al Faisal. This was just like a chippy that I went to a few times called Salty Towers. Maybe it'll be a chippy again, I don't know. But I quite like the way the chair was outside and the door there. It's just a nice geometric. And this, a guy with a roll of carpet over his shoulder crossing the street. If you crop in, it's a bit more interesting. It's just one of those things. It's not particularly special, but not something you see every day. So worth a picture when you're trying to use up your film. So for the last shot, we're just reaching the time of day when the shadows start to fall really nicely on the buildings. Yeah, probably photography wise would have been best to come out at this time and spend the rest of the day in bed, but that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to get out there and get away from the everyday. So yeah, we'll get that picture anyway. And I got it, and it's okay. That's all I can say about it. It's an interesting picture. I think it would be better in colour, but it was my last frame, and I was really glad to hear the film start to rewind and to be able to head back to the studio and see if my endeavours for the day had actually led to anything concrete. Back in the studio, I mixed up a fresh batch of chemicals and managed to get the film out of the cartridge in a dark bag into the developing tank, and then it was just a question of waiting. I gave the film 4.5 minutes at 23 degrees, and yet everything seemed to go fairly smoothly. Right then, it's the moment of truth. Let's see what we've got. And unbelievably, what we got were 36 good frames. Good density to the negatives. There is something on the roll. Oh, it's a great relief. There's nothing up to here, which is kind of strange. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... The exposures did all seem to be at the edge of the perforations, the bottom of the perforations. I was slightly worried all the way through the day that the film was just getting chewed up inside the camera. So quite a relief, really. A good end to a strange day. Right, let's hang these to dry. So there we go, another video done. I hope you enjoyed that day out with me. I really needed to just get away and do something different. There were some sad bits to it. There were things that had gone, which I wasn't expected to have gone, which is not what I needed. But I did get some photos at the end of it. I did clear my head from the other thoughts that I was thinking, got out there. And that's the great thing about photography, getting out there, looking out rather than looking in, or looking in with the perspective of looking out. And that, I think, helps, certainly me. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope you've kind of enjoyed it as I have. I will be back with more content as soon as I can, and hopefully in a much lighter, brighter mood. But take care of yourselves, enjoy whatever you're shooting. Until I see you again, bye for now.